सदाशिवसमारम्भाम् शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयम् करुणालयम् नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करम् लोकशङ्करम् शङ्करम् शङ्कराचार्यम् केशवम् बादरायणम् सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यम् करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परम् ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ गं गणपतये नमः। ॐ गं गणपतये नमः। ॐ गं गणपतये नमः. So let us go to the first verse, which is a prayer verse. Everybody can chant at home as well. Rupam drishyam lochanam drik tadrishyam driktu manasam drishyadi vrittaya sakshi Drigevanatu drishyate. So we were seeing very important verses. Tvam pada vichara, we call it in the Shastra, a type of methodology which is dealing with the individual. So the first inquiry is dealing with the individual self, the jiva. Who am I? That is the main question. Who am I? And we've seen in this particular text, the author has very beautifully split the human personality into two thoughts, actually. All we are, apart from the physical body, is just two thought forms. What are those two thought forms? Aham, I thought, and idam, everything else apart from I. That is our whole interaction. If you look at in life, that is all of life. I and everything else, that is how I live my life, how I interact with life. And we saw that this I now is being even further dissected. What is this I? Is this I always present during my states of experience? Everything I go through in life, is that I always present? The I that I think I am. You see, we have to be very careful. That I thought is what I think I am. That I thought is called ahankara. I am the doer. Ahankarta, actually, the doership thought. Is that present? The question is now asked, is that I thought present in all my states of experience? So he says here now, he dissects that I thought even further, and we saw that important verse as well. Verse 10, Ahankaralaye suptau bhave dehopyachetanaha ahankara vikasardha swapna sarvatu jagaraha. So from the 6th verse up to the 12th verse, we saw the formation and function of the seers, the various levels of seers. And how are these seers formed and what are their functions? We've been seeing all of this. But we have also learned that Sakshi, Atma, is self-shining, self-revealing. Then what is the sleep state? What is the dream state? And what is the waking state? Does the quality of Atma change in these three states of experience? Does the quality of Atma, meaning consciousness, does it change in these three states of experience? It seems to change, right? It seems to change, even though it's self-evident consciousness. The quality of consciousness seems to change. Sometimes it's very bright in waking state. I'm totally awake. It's very, very bright. Sometimes I'm dull, even in the waking state, when I feel dull and drowsy. Is it consciousness that's feeling dull and drowsy? That is what he's asking here. Sometimes I'm blank. How is this changes in my mind possible? How are these changes in my states possible? Is it consciousness? And how come consciousness manifests differently from person to person? Some people are very, very energetic. Some people are very, very active. They have so much energy, activity in life. Some people are given to lethargy. They're apathetic. They don't want to do anything. Some people are just neutral. Sometimes they're like this, sometimes like that. Is it consciousness that is changing? No, he says here, it is not consciousness that changes. Consciousness never changes. Consciousness definition is that which never changes. It is always there. So the three states of experience is not for consciousness at all. They are for the mind. The three states of experiences are only for the mind. The mind goes through these three states. And not only the mind, we have to say the ego, the protagonist of the drama of life, the main hero or victim, we don't know, whichever way you take it. The main person who acts in this drama of life is the ahankara, the ego self. So the waking, dream and sleep continue in a cyclical manner for all of us. We've seen this. Depending on our karma, exhaustion, we have to go through these three states of experience, sometimes for 50 years, sometimes 70 years. When the prarabdha is exhausted, the three states of experience also stop for every human being. So the entire living and dying experience is explained by the paradigm in this verse. Actually, he says, ahankara laye supto. In the absorption of the ego, when is the ego absorbed? When is the I sense not there? Supto, in deep sleep. When the mind is resolved, you don't say, if somebody says to you, comes into the room when you're snoring away in the bed and saying, are you asleep? If you say, yes, I'm asleep, definitely you are not asleep. So what is the definition of sleep? You cannot react in sleep. You cannot interact in sleep. So the definition in our scriptures given for sleep is when the ahankara, the ego self, individuality is resolved. Then you are asleep. So the I sense is dissolved. There is no sense of individuality. We saw that. No sense of history. No relationships, no problems. That's why we love to be in sleep. And this is where the mind totally resolves and the sense powers are also dormant. There are no senses active either. But if you go into dream state from sleep state, then sense powers are directed to the sukshma level, for the subtle level, to the dream level. So it's very interesting. Sense powers are always within us in the subtle body. But in the waking state, they're directed outside to the world. The sense powers grasp the data from the external world. But in the dream state, the sense powers are directed inward. And I have a set of senses that I experience the dream world with. Because while I'm living in the dream world, I also smell, I also taste, I also touch, I also go through various experiences in the dream state. How is it possible? So your sense powers are in a dream state. They're in a subtle form that turned inward. So he says here in the when the ahankara is resolved, dehe api bhavet achetanaha. This body, physical body, is still alive but not conscious. It is not conscious of itself. Then what keeps it alive? Something is keeping it alive. The prana functions, the vital airs. The vital airs keep the body alive. That is why they say when the prana leaves the body, you're dead. The prana is the last thing to leave the body, the physical body. The last thing to leave the physical body, what we call death, is the prana. When prana is gone, then the human being is gone. It's like when somebody is comatose as well. What is kept active? It is the pranic system that's kept active. When that is gone, the human being is ready for burial or ready for cremation. So when ahankara is active, the body comes to life. You're able to talk, you're able to walk, you're able to think, eat, sleep, cry, everything. Sorry, not sleep. You're able to laugh and cry and interact with the world. So consciousness manifests through the ahankara vritti, the I thought, and then in turn it manifests through the physical body. You come alive as a human being. That is what is called life. And he says here, achetanaha. Achetanaha means unconscious in deep sleep. The body becomes an unconscious entity. It is jadam. It is jadam meaning it is inert. So that is why we, especially in India, the body is inert because you go to sleep in India. Suppose there's a power cut in the middle of the night. AC is not there, fan is not there, and you wake up in the morning, there's lumps all over your body. You have been the biggest blood donor during the night for mosquitoes. But did you know it? No, we did not know it. Because the sthula shariram, the physical body, is an inert entity. You don't feel anything. You don't sense anything. Anything can happen in deep sleep. When you're totally in deep sleep, anything can happen. And you wake up in the morning and you see all the blotches. Many times, I know, I have experienced this. When did this happen? There's no itchiness, nothing, in deep sleep. In the morning only we scratch. In the morning the sensation of touch comes because ahankara comes into the picture, reflected consciousness comes into the picture, and then I have the results of what I went through in deep sleep state. So the physical, in the deep sleep state, the ahamvritti, the I thought, is not aware of the physical body. And the physical body is not aware of the world. This is what we call deep sleep state. So death also is like a deep sleep state, actually. What we call death is actually deep sleep. It's a long, long sleep where the mind goes into unmanifest form. It becomes manifest again when you take on a new body. So you see, where there's no such thing as a final resolution for the mind. The mind is always available. The sukshma shariram, when I say mind, you have to always understand it as subtle body, the sukshma shariram. It doesn't die. It takes on a new body, and that is when you become manifest again as an individual. So what is active in deep sleep then? If you remember our Tattva Bodha text, we saw that it is karana sharira. We are in our causal state. We are in seed form, potential form. So all of us, all that name and form and function, all the individuality, everything that we think we are is in potential form only. And I'm a divisionless entity. There's nothing in me. There's no knower. There's no knowledge. There's no known either. So this is what we call karana shariram, one potential, one unmanifest condition. And this is also what we call bija avastha, the causal seed, potential form for everything. And this is what deep sleep state is, when I'm relieved from all my problems. I love deep sleep because no problems. Where are the problems? For some time at least, I have no problems. So sleep is actually a blessing for the mind to rest. Sleep is a blessing for the mind to rest from all the issues it has to go through. But at the same time, it is not a state one can keep escaping into because, as we've seen, you cannot exhaust your karma in sleep. The whole of life is to exhaust your prarabdha karma, and only in waking state and to a certain level in dream state we can exhaust karma. So actually the two states really important are the waking and the dream to exhaust karma. We cannot spend our whole life in sleep. So this causal state, when ahankara is resolved, there's absence of all specific experiences. There is no experience there. There is an experience of no experience. The world continues outside you, but you are dead to the world. Someone very beautifully said, deep sleep is not an absence of experience. Deep sleep is not an absence of experience. It is an experience of absence. That is a very beautiful way. If you listen to this, deep sleep is not an absence of experience. It is an experience of absence. You are aware of the absence of everything because you know when you wake up, I didn't know anything. Aham kim api na janami. You say, I didn't know anything. How do you know you didn't know anything? How do you know? That is a question you ask. The question that's asked, and we saw this as well. A very good example is like you enter a dark room. Sleep is like entering a very dark room. I mean, you enter a dark room. There's lots of objects in the dark room, but you're not able to see anything. When you come out of the dark room, somebody asks, what did you see in the room? And you say to the person, I didn't see a thing. I didn't see a thing. But is that the truth? Your eyes are open in the dark room. You're looking, but there's nothing. Consciousness is not lighting up the objects. The mirror reflecting medium is not there. But what is really the truth. It is not that you didn't see anything. You actually should say, I saw the absence of everything. That is the truth. You are the witness of the absence of everything in deep sleep, because you continue in deep sleep as witness consciousness. It is like you're having your eyes open in a dark room. You see nothing, but you are there. You're very much there. So there is a slight vritti. They say there's a slight thought form in deep sleep that you recollect when you wake up, and you say, not in Sanskrit, but I'm saying it in Sanskrit. I don't think any of you will say the words in Sanskrit, but Maya Nidra Sukhena Dukhena Anubhuyate, which means sleep was happily experienced by me. Absence of sorrow was experienced by me. I did not feel any sorrow. So you die to your roles in sleep. The beggar is no longer a beggar in sleep. You die to all your roles. The king is no longer a king in sleep. Everybody is one and the same in sleep, right? There's no differentiation. It is only in waking we get the roles. When we wake up, we become all the roles that we play. So this is the deep sleep state for the ego. Now he says, ahankara vikasa addaha. Ahankara vikasa addaha, which means the ego is half manifest in dream. It is not fully there, but it is half manifest in dream. It is, adda vikasa means half bloomed, actually. So the ahankara is not fully active because there is no karta there, there's no doer. You don't will yourself to dream, do you? You don't will yourself to have certain dreams. Dreams happen, and we'll see why dreams happen, actually. They go into detail here as well. But there's no karta there, there's no doership in dreams, but you are still active in dream, meaning there is a pseudo-self in dream. You project yourself. How do you project yourself? With your own vasanas. The dream state is nothing but what you have stored from waking state. So the dream state, our acharyas say, our teachers say, our gurus say in the tradition, is a very good state to understand how Ishvara is in the waking state. See, when we talk about the nimitta upadana karanam abhinna, the non-separate material and efficient cause, intelligent cause for this universe, you become Ishvara in your dream. Where is the material separate from you? The material is in your mind. You are the mind for your dream world. You are the material for your dream world. Who creates the dream world? You are the intelligence behind your dream world. This is exactly what our waking state is. Ishvara, he is the material and he is the intelligence. In fact, we can say our waking state is Ishvara's dream. Ishvara's dream is our waking state. Our dream state is my role as Ishvara. I become Ishvara in my dream state. I create. So he says here, Swapnaha, in the dream, there is only experience. Only the experiencer is there. Dream objects, dream world is created by you, but not using your will, not using your choice. You cannot arrange all the circumstances as per your wish in dream. Forget dream. Even in waking state, how can you arrange all things happening as per your wish? Even in waking state, we find it difficult to control situation. In dream, it is totally out of our control. Dream is just a projection of what is already stored. So we cannot control any element of our dream world. Waking state, we have some control over of things in our life. But the world is created, and here, what is the world that you create in your dream world? The Shastra says the subject and the object in your dream world, nothing but you alone. You are the ahankara, the dream ahankara, the dream ego is the subject and object. You are both in the dream world. So this is why we give the name in Shastra. It is called that it is Tejasa. Tejasa is that when the mind is not, it's only in the form of thought. Your world is only in the form of thought. And you, as a human being, as an individual, are only in the form of thought, because physical body also not available in dream state. You are there in the form of thought also. And the material is vasanas, he says. He will go into that a bit deeper. All the data that's gathered in your waking state, all the leftover impressions, they come up sometimes in a mixed up fashion in the dream state. So the Shastra is very clear. In your dream state, you cannot see something different from what you have already seen or gathered in your waking state. Now, some people say, in my dream, I saw something, I saw an object, I saw a person I've never ever seen in my waking state. No, that could be Purva Janma as well. We don't negate your past life dreams as well. People are subject to also memories that are stored in the human psyche are not only from this life, they can be from a past life. So when they come up in dream state, it means you have seen that particular thing or that situation or that person in past life. So this is the dream state. Then he finally says, what is the ahankara, the I? What is the individual in waking state? What happens to the I thought in waking state? He says, sarvaha tu jagaraha. You are full, you are Vishwa, you are fully awake, Purna Vikasaha. In the waking state, you are both Karta, you are both the doer, and you are Bhokta, the experiencer. The Ahankara, the protagonist, the hero of the drama of life is fully active in the waking state. And that is why the name given in the scriptures is Vishwa, which means totally awake. So all the shariras are awake. Your physical body is awake, your subtle body is awake, and the causal body also awake. And consciousness shines through the waking state. It reflects. We saw that the mirror is there. It reflects through the physical body, and you experience all the experiences of the waking state. So the question was, is consciousness going through the changes? No, that is the answer. It is the ahankara, it is the I sense that goes through all the changes in the three states of experience. So it fully resolves in sleep, it partly resolves in dream, and it is fully awake in waking state. And this ahankara, what is this ahankara? It is like, you can also take it like a shop, when a shopkeeper, when he becomes busy, he opens the shop, he becomes very, very busy in the external world, he interacts with all the people, everything. And then he locks his shop, and then he's very tired, he wants to go for some entertainment, and he watches the TV, switches on the TV, goes for some rest, switches on the TV, and then that is the dream state, switching on the TV. And then when he's totally locked up the shop, switched off the TV, just goes off, no interaction with the world, that is the ahankara asleep. So he says in the next verse, going again deeper into this, antah karana vrittischa chitchaya aikyamagata vasanah kalpayet swapne bodhe-ksher vishayan bahihi. So now he goes a bit more into how dreams and waking take place. Sleep we have seen very well. But he says, antah karana vrittihi. It is the thought modification of the antah-karana, the inner instrument that we all have, the inner equipment that we all have, which is a composite of various thoughts. That's all our life is, various thoughts interacting with the physical body and then makes us act as well. And he says, chitihi chaya aikyam agata, having gained identity with the reflection of consciousness. So when the thought is connected, we saw that with manifest consciousness, reflected consciousness, what happens? You come to life, or the I comes to life. By themselves, the thoughts are inert. Thoughts are mithya. They have no reality on their own. We think thoughts are so important. In fact, the scriptures say thoughts are nothing. They're jadam. They're absolutely zero, zilch. It is consciousness that gives existence to thought. Chitchaya. Every thought is nothing but consciousness. But consciousness is much more than thought. That is the discovery. You are not the thoughts that you have in your mind. Do not identify all the time with the thoughts in the mind. You are much more than the thought. That is where the shift has to happen. So consciousness lends existence to thought forms. The thought part is inert by itself. And this, all the seer, the subtle thought, even subtle thought in the deep sleep state also has a reflection of consciousness to light it up. So thoughts are the mind. thoughts are the mind, and mind is a product of the 5 elements, subtle elements, which is inert. There is no reality given to mind in our scriptures. It is we that give the mind total reality, but the mind is a false entity. Actually, there is no such thing as mind. In fact, it is only for the purpose of interaction that we have thoughts, but it is consciousness that lends existence to the mind. So he said, the experience of thinking is what? The experience of thinking that happens for all of us is only 2 things. It is mixture of thought plus reflected consciousness. What we call thinking is manifest consciousness plus thought. So the world, this is how I experience the world. And he says, bodhe akshehi vishayan bahihi. So what is this waking state? He says, this is where I get all the data with the eyes, with my sense organs. The waking state, I interact with the objects, sense objects in the waking state, which are outside me. This is exactly what waking state is. It is a state of choices. It brings changes. It can bring changes to your life. It is a state where you gain moksha. This is the state where you gain liberation. You cannot go to sleep and get liberation in your dream. We would like that, no? We get liberated in our deep sleep. Why not? It is too difficult to live in the waking state. Let us have liberation in the dream. No, you cannot not have a cross-state experience. So it is here that you make the choice to know. Here it is the choices that you make in life. And here is one place where the free will is totally active. That is what we call waking state. And he says this waking state is where everything is known through your sense organs. Now really examine your life. Nothing apart from that actually. Whole of life experience is through the sense organs. Nothing else we experience, except when we close our eyes, we experience our mind. But the mind is nothing but what I've collected with my sense organs anyway. This is all that we call human beings. So we contact the external world through the jnanendriyas, which are the sense organs, the organs of knowledge, which bring in data, and we express ourselves in the world. How? Through the organs of action, the karmendriyas. How beautiful, again, the human being, such an amazing creation, to bring in data through the sense organs and to express through my organs of action. It is just like, there's a verse in the Dakshinamurti Stotram by Adi Shankara, and he explains this concept. He says, Nana chitragato stita maha dipa prabhavaswaram jnanam yasya tu chakshuradi karana dvara bahispandate. Such a beautiful verse. He says that there are 5 types of thoughts. The whole living experience, a waking state experience for a person is what? It's like having a light placed in a clay pot with holes. There are 5 holes in this clay pot, and a diya is placed in that clay pot. What happens? The light streams out through the 5 holes and it contacts the objects of external to the pot. And this is exactly what happens with the human experience in the waking state. That light of consciousness streams out through the sense organs, contacting all the sense objects in the world. The ears contact only one sense perception, which is sound. I cannot see light, form and color with my ears. How beautiful. Each sense organ has its own sphere of operation. I cannot smell through my eyes. I cannot taste through my nose. Each sense organ is catered to bring in one sense object. So the eyes bring in form and color. Ears bring in sound. Nose brings in smell. Tongue brings in taste. And skin brings in touch. And this is what I call waking experience. But without that light of consciousness streaming out through the apertures of the sense organs, there is no knowledge that can take place of the external world. Everything is dependent on consciousness alone. That light that lends existence to all the objects which are external. So he says here, the physical world is only known through the senses, and that who is the knower? That is the question. Who knows the physical world? We saw the mind on one level is a knower, but even the mind, the thought, ahankara is lit up by consciousness as well. So this is how I live in the external world. I experience in the waking state, I experience all the sense objects, and I have experiences of pleasure and pain. My contact, Krishna says, with the, matra sparshas tu kaunteya, shitoshka sukha dukkadaha. My contact with this external world of heat and cold, of the pairs of opposites, give rise to happiness and sorrow in my life. It is nothing but the contact with sense objects that gives rise to happiness and sorrow. Because in sleep, there's no contact with sense objects. Where is happiness and sorrow in sleep? It's not there. But there is still ananda in sleep. So when I wake up, recording takes place immediately. When I wake up, my alarm clock goes off. I get up out of bed. What happens? There's a record button that is registered in the mind. I record all the experiences. Some experiences are deleted immediately. Those experiences that are immediately deleted are useless ones. I cannot remember, for instance, Friday the 12th of October 1993. What did I have for lunch on that day? If you remember that, that's amazing memory you have. But there are certain experiences we don't remember. Why? Because the memory has an order. We delete certain things. Even though it's registered in the mind, certain things get immediately deleted. But certain things get registered, like a recorder. What are those things that get registered in the mind? That is where we have to be very, very careful. Because mind is a recording device. And when something, an emotion, especially something very emotional, either a state of a great sorrow or a state of great happiness, it gets recorded with the experience. You look back and notice at your life. Look at the things that have really affected you that you remember, the memories that you have. They are the things that have got some emotion attached behind them. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but sometimes that can become a huge problem for me. That is what we call unconscious storage, subconscious storage. Because when those memories are invoked, when I remember certain experiences in my life, what happens? I either go through joy, the same joyful emotion again, but many, many times I go through the sorrow again. That is what we call guilt and hurt. Guilt and hurt stored because of these memories that have the attached emotion along with that memory. That is very important because that affects my present life. That is why we have to resolve the emotion. There's a saying in English, forgive and forget. We don't say that in Shastra. We say you can never forget. When something is very strong, you can never forget, but you can resolve the emotion and forgive. Forgiveness is possible when you resolve the emotion, and we don't have guilt and hurt when we resolve what the memory has stored, the mind has stored from past. That is how I learn to move on in my life. Otherwise, I will be stuck like a broken record, going over the same experiences again and again. The memory will not let me live my present life. And this is where we make the biggest mistake. We lose the happiness in the present moment because we live either in the past or another problem, we live in the future. Future is because of anxiety and worry. What will happen? What's going to happen? What is going to be? And it does not even manifest. I already learned to create a hell out of something which is not even manifested for me. And I imagine all sorts of scenarios. Who is imagining? That is what we have to see. Even the future is based on memory. Can you imagine? Future is because you have experienced certain things in your past and you project the future will be like this because this happened to me in the past. Many times it's like that. We think our future is going to go on the same pattern as the past. And most of the time it does not. Sometimes it does, but we don't know. Anything is liable to change. Future can change. So this is where we learn in the waking state, do not let things linger in your mind for long. Whenever you have to, this is what we call mental cleansing, mental cleaning. Every day in the night, we have to, like we sweep our house, like we vacuum our home, we have to learn mental cleaning. Clean out the grudges. Never go to sleep with heavy emotion in your mind because it gets registered again, creating problems for you in your life as well. So clean it out, resolve it, get it out of the system somehow, and you carry on with your life because it's already a memory. Memories you cannot change. Can we change the past by constantly worrying about what happened? No, you cannot. So it's ridiculous actually to live always trying to change. Why did I do that? Why did that happen? That should have not happened. It should have happened like this. You cannot control that. So this is where Shastra helps. It helps you to understand that, yes, the records of all 5 experiences in the waking state do happen. What somebody said to me is registered. What I saw is registered. What I tasted is registered if emotion is attached behind the sense perceptions. The emotional states are registered, but I have to claim the emotional states, right? It is aham vritti that claims. I claim this state. That is where you can get that space between the I thought and the state. This happened. This experience happened. You don't claim it. No, let it be. That is what happened. Let it be. Let it go. So this is the waking state for us. That is the interaction with the objects of the senses. And finally, he says, Swapne vasanaha kalpayet. The dream state is what? In the dream state, you are known as Tejasa. Tejo maya antahkarana vritti rupatvat, which means you're purely in the form of vrittis, in the form of thought forms. And as we have seen, the dream state is whatever is seen, whatever is heard, whatever is perceived, whatever is known in the waking state, whatever is directly experienced through your senses, then stored as scenes in the mind. And this is what makes a material for your dream state. The imprint from the waking state is lodged in your memory capacity, and this creates your dream state. That is why it is said here, Vasanaha kalpayet. Tat janita vasanayaha. So every imprint that is created in the mind, including your unconscious and subconscious, come up in the dream state. You see, sometimes you have a great desire in the waking state. You want something, that dream house, that waking state, you want the dream house. What happens? You go to sleep, then you go into dream state. You see yourself buying the dream house. You see yourself living in the dream house. That is why. Why? Because you've seen the dream house in the waking state, and you actually go through the experience in your dream state. When it's a very strong desire, sometimes you can exhaust your prarabdha in the dream state, and then you don't have to, slog it out and gain the dream house in the waking state. Once you've had a good time in the dream state, you can actually let go of the karma. It's quite good, actually. If you get dreams like that, exhaust your desires that you have in your waking state in the dream state, your slate is already kind of clean. So, but that, again, we cannot control those. So, he says here, memory has its own logic. Memory is like hing, as I've always said, it's like hing, you all know, asafoetida, hing, it is left in a jar. You leave hing in a jar, and you take it, you take that hing out of the jar, that smell remains for a long time, even if you keep washing it. The smell, you try it. Take hing out of the bottle that you've got it in now, and wash that bottle, leave it even for a week, you'll still smell the hing. That is exactly what vasanas are. They are hing of the mind. That smell will remain for a while, until it slowly it disappears. So you may see all sorts of mixed up things. You may see a man with a tail in the dream. You may see any sort of mixed up stuff in the dream. But it is only because you know what a man is in the waking state, you know what a tail is in the waking state, but in the dream state, you mix up all kind of experiences as well. So this, he says, the memories, the samskaras, this is what is waking state. And sometimes this is what the dream state is. And sometimes you can even release psychological, aspects in your dream as well. Repressed emotions, all of that get released in the dream. So it is like the psyche takes care of itself. Only in the waking state you're in charge. So in the dream state, he says that you are there, but you are half awake. As the I, you are half awake, and that is what is called dream. So this is these are the three, identifying with and relating with ahankara. This is what happens, the ahankara in the three states of experience. And this is what we call life, actually. This is our life, the I in three states of experience. I'm going to leave it there, but he will go into it. The topic starts changing now. There's one more verse, and then he will shift the topic. But he will sum up all of this that we have seen in the past verses in the next verse. We'll do the summing up next week.
Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om